Hey everyone, another time, another guest, same room, so excited. Summit is energetic, things are going on. Now I'm with Kevin, better known as Zenama, correct?
Yes.
In socials. I know him by Kevin. So very happy to be here. Kevin has a very interesting background.
Yeah.
You can tell more about yourself.
Sure. I was Solana core for about a year. Prior to that, I was at Apple for about 5 years, and then went on, found kind of a love for DevRel, and went on and did DevRel at Monad for the last year and a half before just recently, about two and a half months ago, left to kind of build my own DevRel consultancy type business, as well as building a project with some friends. Doing it under a new company called Intoku Strategies.
Token strategies?
Intoku Strategies.
Intoku.
So Intoku means good done in secret in Japanese. There's
Oh my god! So
yeah. So there's no direct.
The Ika and all the other things that we're going to talk about it. We find a common language already.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, have kind of a thesis behind what effective DevRel should be in the space and helping various teams with DevRel efforts as well as just like actual product efforts. And Intoku's kind of that philosophy of like you should be able to contribute and move stuff along without having to be a front man, right? And so that kind of like good.
So what was the direct translation?
Good done in secret.
Good done
in secret.
In secret.
Yeah.
Okay. Why in secret?
It's like, so it's kind of like the philosophy of like, are you doing good if you're doing it for the attention, or are you doing it to do it for the sake of doing good?
Oh,
right?
I see.
So good done in secret is this like
just for the sake of doing good,
you
the
do
principle.
Good for the principle of doing good for your own fulfillment and for helping.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like I really like it.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's not like that's something you want to sell like doing something just for the reason that you want to sell. I mean, which like 95% of people are trying to do. Yes,
yeah, and I found a lot of opportunity in this industry, and like I'm pretty grateful for it. And,
okay.
I just try to help teams and pass that along as much as I can now. So.
Okay. Do you believe in karma?
Yeah, actually, like quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Hence the Zen Llama. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like once we were doing a project that was in year. It was about karma, so like a karma rewards.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was related to our governance. So we were designing the whole system for near governance, and the idea was that foundation, because the whole foundation was supposed to like decentralize and put 500 million into that system, and part of like the whole logic over there was like not having just bullshit influencers, but the karma influencers.
Yes,
people
pay it forward. Yeah,
and we did that, started that, but it's too much politics. Like trust me, then finding it, I wouldn't say selling it, but people just always try to argue. Because if you have the thought of half a billion, that creates politics. That creates fucking politics.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's bad.
Yeah.
So cool. Solana is known for like attracting developers for quick execution.
Yeah.
Lot of tooling, tons of stuff. How did you find Solana?
Yeah. So I guess my background was embedded systems, right? And so I did, like I was, degenerate up on Ethereum and Solana early 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually apply and get my first job until I think early 2022, or maybe late 2021. But, I got like kind of pilled into Bitcoin during COVID, time, started looking it up, was like, whoa, this is cool.
The red pill, the blue pill?
Yeah, and then went over to Ethereum, was like, oh, programmability, this is sick. Started learning about DeFi and stuff, and then I'm an engineer by trade, so I started looking at how the system was built. Ethereum felt very much like a web system. I don't know. As an embedded engineer, it just didn't resonate with me, like the design choices. And then I stumbled upon Solana, and I looked at it, and I was like, whoa, this is very, very similar to an embedded system. And so from that, at Apple, we were going through the whole like re-bringing people in from COVID, and I've been working remote for 2.5 years, and I was quite frankly just like, no, I don't want to come in. And then I had like a pretty frank conversation with my boss, and he was like, well, if you don't want to come in, you better find another job. And I was like,
fair enough.
Okay. So yeah, I kind of started applying and applied at Solana, got the job there, and then I came back 3 months later. I was like, well, sorry, I got another job.
Here's my job.
So
1 year later, Solana tokens made much better than the Apple stock.
Yeah, no. Well,
you could just go there to
I definitely round trip the Apple stock in Solana.
I got my Solana tokens.
Yeah.
You would offer me some Apple stock. I made 100x here.
Well, I think that first cycle, I dumped most of my Apple stock into Solana and definitely watched it go from $8 the first time to $8 the second time. So yeah, I've been on that train for a while. So.
I have a story about Solana tokens. I was buying. So I met Anatoly. I remember it was in DevCon in Osaka. I was already reading about Solana, and for me it was bullshit. So it was an interesting story. There was a Solana event. I didn't know the Solana guys. I was reading the white paper, reading their docs.
Yeah.
It must be a bullshit, like proof of history. Like, what's the proof of history and what are you trying to solve? Yes. I was coding, I was in the core Ethereum, developing a bunch of stuff. Cosmos, and I was like, no, it's not proof of history, right? It's just hashing. They basically do hashing, and
verified.
And that's a proof of work, I would say, rather than a proof of history.
Yeah, quite frankly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like all the speed, I know how you can do it. And so I met an engineer at the Solana event at DevCon Osaka, and I was talking with him like, no, this doesn't make sense, and he was explaining me what the fuck is this, how it works. And then he said, I need to go because I need to speak on the stage.
Yeah.
So he went to the stage and said, hey, I'm Anatoly, CEO of Solana.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And we were like talking for 45 minutes.
Oh wow. Well, that's special actually.
Yeah, that was a good story. And came back, whenever the Solana tokens were liquid, I bought a bag of my Solana tokens.
There you go, yeah.
And I made some money on it, so it was cool.
Yeah. Or Armani.
There's also, sorry?
You said Armani?
I mean, Solana tokens, so I bought them for below $1.
Oh wow, nice.
But unfortunately, then I was selling them for below $2 because
okay.
another friend told me that, there is the unlock, the first unlock of Solana token is happening. So okay, fine, I will sell all of them and then automatic rebuy for I don't know, say like 190 something.
Yeah.
Made a automatic rebuy for almost 170.
Yeah.
The problem was that
it never came back down.
It was growing. I was updating my order, and it's like $3, $4, $5, $6. Fine, how far we go? Maybe I will have to look. Maybe it's too late. So I just stopped it, and then observing it, I'm going to 200.
Yeah, that was quite the moment.
Solana was cool. I never had an opportunity though to work directly on Solana.
Yeah.
But they have a bunch of builders, right?
Yeah.
The second builders ecosystem in the world.
Yeah, I would say it'll soon be first, quite frankly.
After EVM, you think so? With Monad coming in, there's so many things in Berachain. The thing is that
it's more of the design space.
Okay.
In my mind, that's what I look at it is like, what is enabling new apps to be built right now?
Mm-hmm.
EVM has been around for 8 years. There hasn't been a whole, maybe even more, maybe 10 years now. But there hasn't been a whole lot of innovation on the application layer of Ethereum, right? They did a lot of consensus updates with the move with EIP 1.5.9, economic updates, the merge, big
Verge.
Yes, all this stuff.
All of this
there hasn't been a lot of execution.
Nobody knows about it. I mean, everyone heard about it. If you ask what's Verge, what's Surge,
that roadmap is quite complicated. But, I think in recent times, they've seen a lot of pressure from other execution layers, and I'm pretty excited about the Pector fork because it will bring actual, native account abstraction to Ethereum, which I think is a big unlock. But, that has been something that has existed on Solana and Sui from Genesis.
Just deliver, right?
And so it's just
I'm not sure like, how much you're following Ethereum, but I remember I'm less and less in Ethereum, yes, but when was that? I think 3 years ago, yes. Like, Vitalik was talking about account abstractions, shilling it,
Yeah.
and we had like a whole speech about it at ECC. It was 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then was like a main team at the hackathon. It was the hackathon around ECC, then the hackathon, I don't remember what was the next one, DevConnect or DevCon, right? That was a main theme, teams experimenting with it. So you had not like like your own in-house few engineers trying to test it.
Yeah.
There was at least a year with a bunch of hackathons and teams applying it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't deliver.
Well, they couldn't deliver because they didn't want to do core protocol.
Yeah, but at some point you just need to take those, get that experience, get those leaders who put so much energy in your hands, and then whatever, you can make a committee, you do some,
I mean, I think there was a big push to keep account abstraction out of protocol for a long time, and that really hindered a lot of the builders who were building in that space because they didn't have a workaround that constraint. They built, a 4337, it got adopted, there's off-chain bundlers, all this stuff, and like the extension of that, eventually now 2 years later, people are going, this is way too complicated. We have to incentivize these bundlers. There's now alt mempools, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Why can't we just allow accounts to have data?
Absolutely.
Right?
The thing is that how long you can, if it's a priority, everyone agrees it's a priority, you need to deliver. You need to focus, get that core team, the builders, you have 1 year of experience with hackathons, with teams, and then you have other key dependencies.
Yeah.
So big projects, L2s that
Wallets.
depend on you.
Yeah, wallets.
Let me just bring an example. ZK Sync.
Yeah.
They get okay, we want to sell it. So they get those cases in their own hands, deliver, but then they have a risk. What if Ethereum go in
a different way? That's the biggest. Even in Monad, that was our biggest problem. We would love to have native account abstraction from the get-go, but if you're trying to be 100% Ethereum compatible,
exactly,
you're based on their timelines.
So you're hindering not only, let's say, your builders, but the whole ecosystem that relates on you, that trust you.
So, I mean, I can't speak to the whole governance process in Ethereum. I haven't been involved in it in the core side like I was on Solana, but I agree with a lot of the same sentiment. It's like, and this goes back to your original question, why I think SVM will slowly become the biggest developer platform over time. Currently, maybe Move has a chance of that eventually, especially when Solana, which will be a while, but will eventually implement Move. It's just like, it's that design space expansion, right? And if it takes you 3 years to expand your design space, people have moved on. It's not novel anymore, right?
I mean, what was 3 years ago? I don't even remember, right?
And like the things that get devs the most excited and the new people coming in is brand new design spaces. Because there are devs who've been in the industry and understand in the current design spaces how to compete and how to build a good business. But the new people coming into the industry, for the most part, are looking for things with less competition and more opportunity. And when you have a new design space, that is the perfect environment for them.
100% agree with you. I was showing with you our Bitcoin thesis, but just going out from this conversation, one thing that we have in our pitch deck, not often talk about it, is this feedback loop cycle, or the developer cycle. How we think will foster the innovations with Bitcoin, right? So basically, it starts with the opportunity of new tech, powerful tech like Sui. Yes, that Sui, by the way, is following similar path that just takes all these problems into their own hands and deliver a solution. Because a new update every 3 weeks. It's like, I'm shocked.
Quite honestly, that's why I've started paying more attention over the last couple of years. Is I've seen cool stuff start to get implemented that when you're working in an ecosystem such as like Solana or Monad, you're so focused on that ecosystem, it's really hard to pay attention to other ecosystems, even if you try.
Absolutely.
But sweet, there's been things that over the last year and a half has like popped up, trickled up into my circle on the side, which I'm like, okay, if an ecosystem is doing features and novel things to where even when I'm fully focused in my ecosystem, I'm seeing it popped up, might be time to start paying attention.
Right.
Right? Then, so the founders of Sui Summit, Eritrix and Ben from Talus, good friends. I've worked with them for a while on Solana across a bunch of things. They're like, hey, we're going to try to start, this like hacker house thing here. And we had a similar thing on Solana called Mountain DAO. And like the first one was like this, kind of intimate. I was like, okay, now the community, not Mistin or Sui Foundation, is doing stuff for themselves. That's a huge bullish indicator, right? When your ecosystem starts deciding that they're taking their success into their own hands, like that's one of the most bullish signals, right?
Yeah.
And so that combined with the fact that I'm not even working in the ecosystem, I'm seeing cool features pop up in teams like Ika, quite frankly, opening new design spaces, made me be like,
but that's what's sexy
show
for
up
us
and
engineers,
find
right?
out what's going on. Yeah.
Like engineers, we are doing it because we like. I guess we have three groups of engineers, right? Just workers, do the job and call it a day, go for a beer.
Yeah.
Then mercenaries, they know whoever plays best, and then visionaries or innovators.
Yeah.
Attracted.
I actually have a very similar framework for archetypes of developers.
And of course, everyone cares about money.
Yeah.
But the last group is the one that is moving the ecosystem,
Exactly.
innovating, creating the new narrative.
Yeah.
Blockchain is basically it's a tech industry. Yes, it's a very tech industry. You see, like most of the founders are tech. Or, they need the tech. And you can buy, you can always pay. Yeah, but then all the smart engineers, they will do their job.
Yeah.
They get the money and then either hack in the night or over the weekend or even during the work until someone will realize, okay, like what the hell are you doing? Like, I'm doing what I want.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is this feedback cycle. Why one of the things why we actually onboarding on Sui is that you have a cool tech with new features every 3 weeks. Top engineers, good mind, something new, revolutionary. That we don't think will die. There's enough capital, enough mind share that it's just growing. So starting with the attraction of the engineers, smart engineers that we care about. Bitcoin itself, money, right? Like us with Ika, we'll talk in a second.
Yeah.
Yes, provide the first ever ability to touch native Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Program it without going into that non-sexy ecosystem of Bitcoin.
Or having a bunch of, quite frankly, YOLO trust assumptions in the middle.
Yeah, but those are not the innovators, those are the more either mercenaries or the innovators we see, Bitcoin programming is super limited, there is not much innovation, not much happening. If you compare the industry, how the industry grew, the blockchain, the Web3 industry, Bitcoin is an asset. It's the most powerful asset. It's like dollar, you don't need much innovation or gold, or whatever, or oil. It's just that everyone wants to use it and that's it. Agrees to use it, right? In terms of Bitcoin, another power is that it's highly decentralized.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the taxi, okay, you can go to buy Sui, but nobody will remember it. You go out of the taxi, the driver in a bus, you talk about the cryptocurrency, yes? You say, okay, so buy Solana, it's so good, right? Buy Sui. Yeah, the moment you exit, the guy will forget. If you tell him buy Bitcoin.
I have a friend whose mom thinks they work on Bitcoin or work at Bitcoin. Right.
Yeah, but that's
it's like that's the only crypto people know, really.
Yeah, but if you go to normies, they will not build. Normies are not builders, right? If you go there, okay, there is this Bitcoin. This is the only asset that makes us, as a community, powerful. So we don't need to depend on, the politics.
Yeah.
So you are, you're a citizen, yes. So you're less exposed to that. But then go to Argentina.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone is so happy. Euphoria is growing that DEFCON is going to Argentina, yes, because they are believers. Those guys,
they actually need it.
They need it, right? In the US, if you earn in Bitcoin, if you earn in dollars, okay,
it's fine. You have access to most things.
There, yes, if you have an ability to earn in Bitcoin or in dollars, that's your life changer.
Yeah.
Right? These guys, they really need it, want it. Anyways, point is here that the Bitcoin narrative is that it's really social narrative.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, it doesn't exist with any other chain out there, as a token out there.
Yeah.
Right, maybe some meme coins, but it's very
Bitcoin is the original meme coin. Like it's the best meme coin ever created. Like
is dollar a Bitcoin? Meme coin?
what is
a dollar a meme coin?
100%.
With a face.
Yeah, I guess that may be the second best meme coin ever created. Probably the dollar.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So that's my point. Like, I remember it was in some conference. I have a friend who's just selling Bitcoin everywhere.
Yeah.
He's not a Bitcoiner, yes, so he's a builder, yes, and he's not building in Bitcoin, but he's selling Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He goes to the taxi, goes find people, and just talk about Bitcoin. Like random people, right? I go here, hey, what's up? Hey, do you know about that Bitcoin? This makes our economy more powerful. This is not something the administration, the tax, or someone can take out of you.
Yeah.
Right? And he just talks about it, and I bet those people will remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, Bitcoin's gotten to that point. Like,
right?
People pay attention and they remember.
And they will buy that Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If you try to sell the Solana the same way, you will lose 95% of the people.
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
Right? So this is how we attract Bitcoin, and now we want to make it to that sexy environment, a powerful environment. Like starting from Sui, hopefully someone will build it next for Solana.
Yeah.
Our vision is multi-chain.
Yeah.
Because make Bitcoin useful and easy.
Yeah.
And so go to from those people who are selling them Bitcoin. This is the asset that makes sense for you. It's even easier to buy Bitcoin and own the Bitcoin than gold.
Yeah.
Right? Because if
100%.
you really want to own gold,
you need to go physically.
You need to go and run it physically, and then dig it somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
to protect it.
Put it in your mattress. Yeah.
I don't know, like hide in the mountains or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But Bitcoin, yes, because it's a digital asset. It's you can, I don't know, maybe share it between 100 different friends.
I mean, it's digital gold.
It's digital gold, right?
It's digital gold.
And nobody can take it from you.
Yeah.
And now those people, we can address those people, right? Efficiently. Bitcoin doesn't as the blockchain, as the ecosystem. He kind of lost that narrative. Yes, we want to keep that Bitcoin as conservative asset.
Yeah.
And the markets are basically, is the tech market. Same way as, even, oil.
Bonds.
No, oil, like other assets, like other commodity.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Everyone needs oil, right? So, but, the application of oil is not the oil itself, but, pharmaceutical industry, textile industry,
farming, agriculture,
transportation, right?
Yeah.
So here's the same. That's how I think about it.
No, I agree. I think that's.
You don't need, let's say the Arab countries or whatever, or the places where the oil is produced to do all the business.
Yes. Yeah.
Business is happening everywhere.
Yeah. No, I mean when I came across Ika for the first time.
Yeah. So let's maybe now talk about this Ika. So Ika and Sui. So. Kevin is onboarding to Sui through Ika, which is super great, and hopefully applying it to Solana because we need it as well. Ika is new, amazing cryptography, first ever non-collusive threshold signature, where we can control wallets, and we as Native is basically the application of it, the abstraction for Bitcoin. So that attracted you, right?
I mean, we say not your keys, not your crypto. And when I found out Ika, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. Trade your keys, not your crypto. And that's really, it's kind of a meme, right? But I was like, whoa, that's it's simple insight, but it's a very powerful insight if you do it right.
Exactly. We were talking about it for years, but nobody actually made a business out of it.
And that's where I saw Ika, and I was like, whoa, okay, wait, now, literally every chain is an Ika chain.
That's the meme. That's the vision.
Well, if you can control accounts, in a sovereign manner across every chain, now it doesn't really matter where the liquidity lives. You don't have to take on additional trust assumptions. If you trust Bitcoin to secure your Bitcoin, don't move it from Bitcoin. Do your business logic somewhere else and just have a claim on that account on Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's transformative for a lot of reasons, especially on Solana. The biggest argument in the last bear market against building on Solana versus Ethereum was all the TVLs here. You have something like Ika on your chain, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter where your TVL is.
Yeah.
It's fine, keep your TVL. We'll do
At
all
the
the
end of
business
the day-
logic
at-
here.
At
Like,
the end of the day, actually, what matters is the activity for
Yes.
those execution layers
Yes.
or execution chains.
Yeah.
We should. You get a good point. Just
Yeah.
have a little bit of enlightenment.
yeah.
If I may say that. Yeah, enlightenment a little bit. So it's not a TVL actually. We should stop the narrative of measuring TVL and go to the the volumes or adoption or whatever, right?
I guess like transactions and users
Transactions.
and activity, and like that's why I've never really subscribed to the belief that settlement is the most valuable thing. Like
Interesting.
I actually believe that execution is the most valuable thing. It's like people don't care where Facebook hosts its servers; they care that the app of Facebook is useful to them, right?
And it generates revenue by clicks.
Yes,
Displays
right.
clicks.
And, like,
scroll.
You're right. There is this like special snowflake, as Kasamani says, property of Bitcoin. But I think there can only be one of those, quite frankly. And if you try to play that game, you're in a losing battle. Like there's not the zeitgeist behind any other asset like there is Bitcoin. And so, if that's already been taken, what's left? Like, settlement of what? Information, which doesn't need to be quite as secure as Bitcoin. And then you have Bitcoin liquidity, and quite frankly, I think blockchains will commoditize the execution or the settlement space.
We need to have always a settlement. I could argue for
Yeah.
a long time. I don't want to spend too much time here, but
Yeah.
there's always a notion of you need to have a notion of settlement.
Yes.
Right? To close the order.
But I do think settlement will be commodified eventually.
I agree.
And that's where I'm like, the value actually comes from the social value of someone saying, this is
Right.
the thing I want to trade and use as an asset. Bitcoin has that. It's going to be
Yeah.
very
So
convenient.
now instead
hard
of
to-
competing of the single asset,
Yes.
whoever's having hundreds of copies of liquidity pools, even on a single chain,
Yeah,
right? We just execute.
exactly. And that's
Because
why I think
that's
settlement
what
will be
makes money, right?
commodified in my
The chain
mind.
makes money on the fees,
Yeah.
on the execution, not on the TVL. TVL is kind of incentive,
Yeah.
right? That brings those usage or enables the usage.
But even when you get into, and Ika is kind of similar in this way, but even when if you talk to, Ethereum's about the end game, about a fully stateless chain
Mhm.
with proofs that are just verified. I actually believe in that vision. Like, I think that is what will actually eventually look like when CK is fast enough. Maybe we have FHE that's fast enough and stuff. But when you get to that point, all of a sudden it kind of doesn't matter if you're an L1 or an L2 or whatever. Like you just actually need to have the most useful content in the sense of apps and users and stuff, and then you have a proof that's portable anywhere.
So actually,
Right.
it matters for L2s
Okay.
because depending
Because
on
of the
what
fork
is
choice.
L2,
Yeah.
not only the fork choice but in settlement, like the guarantees, do you have their exit?
Yeah.
And that's one of the big pains of the L2 and L2s. They are not even
Yeah.
L2s, but all these scaling solutions on Bitcoin,
Yeah.
or all these layers on Bitcoin, is that one, yes, the settlement sucks. Yes, if you were,
It just
if you
takes a
were-
long time. And there's a lot of trust assumptions in between.
Yeah, that, and there is no good exit mechanism,
That's true.
right? So if
Yeah.
let's say if that L2 will die, and usually it's one sequencer,
Yeah.
or whatever, if it get nuked,
Yeah.
game over. Sorry,
Yeah.
my friend.
Yeah.
This is not the place where I live.
Yeah. I mean, Ethereum has solved that a little bit.
Oh no, it's solved completely.
Yeah.
It's solved completely because Ethereum.
You can force exit back to the chain.
Exactly. You don't even.
But that's see, the problem with that is that in order for that to actually be true, you have to have your asset be native to the L1 and bridge to the L2.
No, we have a design actually based on Ika and Native.
Wow.
Yes, how we.
But that's Ika, right? The current design L2s do
Yeah,
not
I
work
mean,
like that.
current,
Yeah.
no, the current design with Ika will not
Yeah.
allow it.
Yeah.
There's still one principle that we are working on.
Yeah.
Sorry, one piece that we are working on that will enable it.
I'm talking more about current design of L2s not using Ika.
Right.
Right. Like,
No, but I'm saying current design of what you can get from Ika.
yeah.
There is I just today I was writing a whole research post for past few weeks about trust assumptions, building the interoperability with MPCs based solutions, with bridge based solutions. So even today, with, even if you assume you have the top zero knowledge,
Yeah.
an MPC, there is no solution today. Not in testnet, not in production. There are a few designs that are going into there. that provides full trustless operations.
Yes.
So I made like a whole article today that was dropped on our X. Please go and follow. And we with Native and Ika, yes, we are the closest one. Probably next year, that's our assumption.
Yeah.
We will get to the fully trustless model.
And that's kind of like why, you know, I look at these current constructions, and when I saw Ika, I was like, whoa, this solves a lot.
Enables, right?
It's yeah, it solves like a lot of the things that I have problems with the current constructions.
Okay,
and
so
like,
you were doing a bunch of stuff on Solana, you know, interesting here in Ika, of course.
Yeah.
What's your favorite application for it? So like, okay, now we're taking the narrative that, you know, you can just with Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Without thinking about the TVL. How this would change, let's talk about Solana a little bit.
Yeah.
How would that impact Solana?
What in particular? What would it be?
Access to Bitcoin.
Access to Bitcoin? Oh, well. I mean, you know, historically, Solana's kind of struggled to have native TVL because it's a very high frequency chain, right? Like, you don't need a lot of capital to still have a lot of, like, academic activity. You know, order books, obviously, you don't have a bunch of passive liquidity sitting there and stuff like that. So historically, it's been, like, pretty hard to acquire TVL in Solana.
Okay.
So that means certain pairs don't have deep liquidity.
Okay.
It's hard for whales to come and trade in certain venues on Solana.
At the same time, easy to manipulate.
Yes, and with Bitcoin, you know, the liquidity is so deep. Like, and if you had the ability to do Solana-style execution with Bitcoin liquidity, I mean, you really do open up DeFi to a whole new set of users.
How about, you know, in my mind, Solana is still, like, you know, the chain for meme coins, fun, speculation. What do you think about, you know, Bitcoin-powered meme coins?
I mean,
with Bitcoin.
So the way I look at meme coins is similar to how I looked at NFTs last cycle.
Okay.
In the sense that, like, I think they are leading indicators of where the social and the retail users are conglomerating, or you're having activity, right? So you saw like NFTs really take off on Solana, and last cycle it was, oh, Solana's just the NFTs chain, and then this cycle it's, oh, Solana's just the meme coin chain. To me, I look at that as a pattern and I say, okay, so Solana is just the leading indicator of users chain, you know? And so Bitcoin powered meme coins, I'm like, yeah, that'd be great, but like, for me, I just more look at it as like, where are the users, right? Not every user is going to be an engineer, they're not always going to share our values, and if we want mass adoption, it's probably going to look more like a reality show than a cypherpunk novel. You know what I mean? And quite frankly, like, that is what this last cycle of Solana is just like. It's like a reality TV show. You're like, oh my god, like, you know, I don't want this stuff going on, but at the same time, like, you know, it's like, it is a leading indicator of where the users are, and on a fully permissionless and decentralized network, but you don't get a say in what people do with the internet, for say, or, you know, these type of networks, like, they're permissionless systems, right?
It gets improved today, it's like, you know.
I mean, like, regulations would help, right? It would be nice if we actually had people going off actual, like, instead of going after Coinbase, like, actually go after the ruggers, like, that would be great, you know, but yeah.
You are building a bunch of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
No, like, you get an item with Ika, yes. Can you tell us about some of the projects and how Ika and the Native can help?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit, it is kind of a two-pronged thing right now. So we talked a little bit about like this Intoku strategies thing and the theory behind it.
Right.
So I've been helping a lot of different projects on like DevRel side, a little bit of advisory stuff. And so that's more on like the DevRel side, like how do you build a dev community, how do you communicate your value props, how do we make things that are useful, how do we onboard devs. Working with a bunch of different projects on that side, Ika being one of them because, well, quite frankly, Ika's a new design space that I'm quite excited about, and like more people should know about this, right? On the actual project side, I'm also building a project. I can disclose the name and I can disclose the general space that it's in, but it's pretty stealth right now. Directionally, it's in the prediction market space, and the name is Melee, like Melee, whatever you want, like Super Smash Bros. Melee. And yeah, like, quite frankly, like, I'm building it on Solana right now because, like, I have history there and distribution and go to market
know-how, access.
Yes, like there's a lot there that outside from the engineering, like I could take advantage of, right? There's also a lot.
That's a big value, right? Like
it's a big value.
We shouldn't underestimate, like the ecosystem that we're connected with.
There's also a lot of consumer app infra that's been there for a long time, like referral systems, mobile native interfaces, like stuff like that, where we can tap into it as a consumer app builder, and I don't have to worry about it. And I've always really appreciated that about Solana, and their quite frankly, it's called ecosystem engineering there, and how they do kind of like app layer infra to make you as an app builder be able to tap into a lot of very useful things. I have like the things that have been popping up, as I was talking about earlier on my radar on the Sui side, are things like that, like ZK login, for example.
Is there a solution like that in Solana?
I don't think it's.
They have passkeys, right?
They have passkeys, yeah. And then Jordan, Solana Labs is working on something called Icarus that'll be coming out soon, which is a similar solution. He actually has a whole different take on how all this should even work, but it's cool. And similar vein of making onboarding easier and more native to devices. And so I see Sui like implementing things in this way. I see Ika being on Sui and opening up a brand new design space, and quite frankly, if our product is successful because we have the best go-to-market chance on Solana, we'll probably expand to other chains, right?
So how do you think here, Ika and Native can provide, I guess some direction about speculations, the predictions. Bitcoin for prediction?
I mean, Bitcoin is the most valuable asset in the space right now, right? So if you could trade in Bitcoin, I'm sure people would be more interested.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll provide you Bitcoin.
Yeah, and because quite frankly, our product is even though it's a prediction market, we do want to allow other assets to plug into it, and being able to tap in things off of the native chain into say Bitcoin or Ethereum or all this natively would be fantastic, right?
Oh, absolutely. Are you looking for any builders or BD people or
we have a pretty small team right now. We will be doing a lot of a partnership push. We're very much in stealth right now.
Okay.
We will be coming more public here.
So for the moment you don't look for any partnership?
Not really looking for much right now. We're kind of just trying to.
That's the Bitcoin.
Well, so we're not raising for it. We're bootstrapping it all. So we kind of want to get our MVP out. We think we have a much stronger case to bring to people in the team when we can show the MVP and be like, hey, this
makes sense.
And then there'll be opportunities.
What do you think? How much time will it take?
We're trying to go MVP by end of May. So.
End of May. So June. Follow up.
Yeah.
We'll
see. Don't hold me to those timelines. They might push
July.
Yeah, we're trying.
July. Follow. You should follow him now. Zalama, but we're looking for the updates. Okay, let's wrap up. What excites you about Web3 and any closing comments?
I think a lot of people are. I don't think it's true across the board, but I think it is becoming more true across the board in the next 2 to 3 years that speed and scale are not going to be your differentiators anymore, right? That's not fully true right now, but with the advent of say Monad, Solana, Sui. Right, you now have Move, SVM, and EVM with an actual decent ecosystem with decent community that's being built up right across all three, some amount of traction and scale of Web 2, and some scalability that you can build some real apps on. And so I think this market is very much going to start bifurcating into design spaces and what you can build where, and that's actually the thing I'm most excited about is exploring who's opening new design spaces and projects to work with in those things. Because like you said, I think most of us here in Web3 at this stage are in the innovator category. It's just the most exciting place.
Well, I would say too.
Right.
I don't think most of them. We have either value extractors.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Speculators. I would say that would be the majority.
Yeah, I guess.
Degens, yes, let's say this way, and then the second part.
Is the innovators, right?
But the innovators actually bring the needs to the
right and
to the farmer.
And what's fun as an innovator? Well, I'm discovering new things and seeing new things built, and so that's kind of what I'm most excited.
And you have the full cycle, right?
Yeah.
There is the money going on. Thank you, Kevin. That was fun and my pleasure to have you here, and looking forward for your new projects, and hope to provide you Bitcoin.
Yeah, thank you. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.